Right. So there are some new names and new faces. So just let me give everyone a brief introduction. My name is Ket, K-E-T, Ket. All right. So I'm the co-founder of CordyKet over there. So my wife's name is Cordelia. Oops. Sorry. Let me mute everyone. So my wife's name is Cordelia. So Cordy for short. All right. So my name is Ket. Together we are known as CordyKet. Since 2010, right, both of us has been providing services and teaching with regards to subtle energies and spirituality, right? So we do a lot of work that are related to subtle energies like energy healing. We even have our very own energy healing modality, which we call infinity healing. Right. Some of the more normal kind of work that we do is like teaching Qigong. We have our very own Qigong called Unity Qigong. We also have our own proprietary meditations like light meditation. All right. A lot of people come and see us for energy healing and spiritual healing and cleansing services. All right. So just to share with you all, because some of you will probably be asked, what makes me somebody of authority or experience or knowledge to talk about this subject today, which is about light work and white magic. All right, last month we actually talked about black magic. So this month we're going to balance things up and we're going to talk about white magic. So first of all, what's our experience with this? Now, everything about CordyKet started with Cordelia, and all the way back to 2008. So in 2008, Cordelia, they all started with Cordelia. Okay, so Cordelia was just a normal lady with no spiritual powers or anything. And in 2008, she received a spontaneous Kundalini activation. All right, and it was a very strong one, so strong that she was practically convulsing on the bed. Right, she thought she had epilepsy or something like that, but eventually she found out it's a Kundalini activation, right? And she started to have some abilities start to come out of nowhere, like she could see things, hear things, smell things. So it was all quite a shock to her because she was almost an atheist. She didn't believe in spirits. She didn't believe, in the good and the bad. Didn't, she kind of didn't believe in God anymore, and she's never seen ghosts in her entire life until that point, right? So her abilities made her aware of the spiritual realms, the spirits, and it eventually caused her, because she went to try to find answers, but eventually something happened and she became possessed by a demon, no less. All right, and she managed to get the demon kicked out, removed from her body by a Taoist priest. And she tried to learn about such spiritual matters and subtle energies. Unfortunately, one of the teachers she learned from did black magic on her, right? Black magic. And she was so weakened by the black magic that the demon repossessed her. And it was even more messy the second time round. But all in all, it's not just the bad news, right? So she prayed and seeked for help, seeked for divine intervention, and divine intervention came. It was a very interesting experience because different types of divine came to her aid. All right, and eventually she managed to, the demon and the black magic were removed with help, and she became a healer. And I was amongst her students when I first knew her. Right, I met her in 2010. So it's quite an amazing story. If you guys are interested, right, there is a book. Cordelia wrote a memoir. The book is called Possessed from Darkness to Light. It's available on Amazon and even Google Play Books. So because of such a beginning, right, whereby it's due to spiritual emergencies. So until today, we help people with spiritual emergencies, whether it is dealing with spirits, dealing with Kundalini activations that gone haywire, helping people with black magic. So we talked about black magic last month. This month we're going to talk about white magic or light work, doing light work. So I invite everyone, if you do have questions about light work or white magic, feel free to use the chat function to type. Now I will be going through some basics about light work and white magic. Right, I hope that as I go through, I will be able to answer some of your questions. If I don't, I will look through your questions and we'll go through them one by one. All right. Now, first of all is the term light work. Let's give a definition to light work, right? So, some of you might have heard of the term light workers, right? Light work, and you add an ER, light worker, right? So light worker refers to people who do light work. But what exactly is light work? Now, there is a general broad definition of light work, whereby anyone who's doing good, who's bringing light, doing good in the world, can be called a light worker. All right. Today we're going to narrow it down because last month we talked about black magic. This month we are going to be very specific about the kind of light work that I want to talk about because it's going to deal with so-called white magic. So black magic, in last month we talked about people using the dark arts, right, to do bad things. So this month for light work, we're going to talk about people who use white magic or good energies, all right, positive energies to help people, to help the world. All right, so we want to define light work. Now, specifically, right, people who do light work, I would say for today's discussion, are people who do kind of like the work that we do, right? We help people deal with black magic, we deal with evil spirits, and that kind of thing. All right, so yes, Cordelia and I, we are healers. We do train people, for example, to do this light work. All right. So those people who come under this category, who want to learn this type of things, right? Some of you will have questions about it, no doubt. See quite a number of people today. So feel free to ask if you have any questions. So first of all, right, we define light work is about doing such work to, for example, deal with dark forces, dark energies, dark entities, right? Those things that are, most people don't encounter, right? But some of you will encounter. There are specific people who are very sensitive to energy, sensitive to the spiritual world, spiritual realms, who will say that, you know, they see things, they feel things, and they know they are real. But for the vast majority of people, they don't. So it's fine, all right? Okay, now light work. I think one of the questions that people will ask is, where does the power come from? Who are the light workers? Who can be a light worker, right? So first thing, power. Where does the power of light workers come from? Who are the light workers? Let me address first of all the traditional light workers. All right, so traditional light workers, you will probably have people who are monks and priests, right? Traditional ones, monks, priests. You have Catholic priests who do exorcisms by the Catholic Church, for example. They are very specialized people, right? You normally, from what I heard, they come from the Vatican directly. It's not like every country will have an exorcist station for the country, right? They normally come from the Vatican and they are very serious, real exorcists. I think there was even a book written by a real Vatican exorcist, right? So there are people who do that. So certain priests, certain monks, they have the kind of abilities to help people with it, right? So it depends on religion. So the traditionalist tends to be religion based, right? Whichever religion you all are from, you all might know such people. All right, so mostly traditionalists. Of course, you also have so-called non-traditionalists. So you can say that Cordelia and myself does not belong to the traditional group, right? I'm neither a priest or a monk, right? I'm not a monk. I am married, in case you don't know, right? Cordelia is my wife. We have a child, right? I'm not celibate, right? So I don't belong to traditional, and I don't belong to any particular religion, right? I'm more a spiritualist, kind of like New Age. So not necessarily all have to be traditionalists. In the book, it was mentioned that Cordelia was aided by a Taoist priest, right? So Taoism is also a religion based, and no doubt there are many people who are doing light work following those kind of traditions. Now, no matter what kind of tradition, right, religion that you follow, if you are really doing light work, if you're really doing light work, the source of power should be the same. The source of power should be the same. All right? And to make it very clear, the power comes from light. Light. That's why we are called light workers. Right now, the traditionalists may not be aware. Some are aware, not all. Okay? Now, what kind of light am I talking about? I am talking about the invisible light that we all are supposed to have. All good people who are born are supposed to have an invisible light that gives rise to our chakras and our aura. So some people can see auras, right? Maybe some of you can see auras. Some people can sense auras. It's supposed to be an aura of light, invisible light. And it is this light that gives us power, right? Because this light comes from a source. A source of light, right? And the source of light, you can call it source, or I like to call it source of light, source of pure light. The source of light is very, very powerful. All right, and we all have this light within us. And it is with this light that we do the kind of specialized light work to fight the dark forces and dark energies. And those of us who are aware of this light, who are aware of this, we can sense, we can train, right? We can train to sense this light in others, and then we will know whether other people are of a level of light enough, right? Light enough to do light work or white magic or not. We can assess. This can be assessed. All right. It has nothing to do with rank. You know, I watched some Hollywood movies. I think the recent one is quite good. I think it's called The Unholy or something. You know, and the movie was thinking that, you would need a higher rank bishop. You know, like a bishop would be higher rank than a priest. They have ranks, right? To do exorcism would be even better. Actually, no. All right, for us, Cordelia and I, we assess people totally by the level of their light, their energy level. We will know whether this person can do it or not. And who can do it? I will dare say this: practically everyone can do it. All right, practically everyone can do light work. Now, there is a kind of a misconception out there, right? Misconception, and I used to be part of it myself. I used to think that you need to be born to do this work. Yes and no, right? Some people are born, they have a soul plan, they're meant to do this work, right? And because they're meant to do this work, they are normally born with gifts. Gifts, the ability to maybe have the third eye, an activated third eye that can see spirits, for example. Some people who can sense. So these are usually the people who are more sensitive to invisible energies and the spirits and spiritual realms, right? I used to think that these are the people who are supposed to do this work. Now, guess what? I am not one of such, all right? I don't have any of these gifts, all right? And I can almost say that I know, based on what I know now, I was originally not meant to do this kind of light work. I wasn't, right? I mean, at least I didn't know, of course, but now I know I wasn't meant to do this light work. But somehow I ended up going down this path because free will is always given. Always remember this: you are always given free will to do what you want to do. You can always change your mind, right? Even though there's soul planning, you can change. Okay, that's a separate matter altogether. But anyone can do it. You don't have to be born into it. You don't need to have the gifts. All right, and I have no gifts, and I am practically the main teacher for CordyKet. I train many students and disciples. Right, they are all more gifted than I am. Right, they all can see more, feel more, everything more. Right, but yet I still have an advantage. Right, I have an advantage, and why so? Okay, it's all back to light. All right, it's back to my light. And I'm always better because my light is of a higher quality, it's brighter, it's purer than all the students that I teach, right? So the qualification for anyone to do this light work is just a matter of the quality of their light. So what are the factors that go into quality of light? Now think about this. I don't know whether any one of you have noticed people who do such light work are normally all these priests, all the people involved in religion, and all the religion preachers and talks about doing good. And all these people are supposed to do good. And there are also people who are non-traditionalists out of the religious um, groups, right? They also develop such abilities, and independent, has nothing to do with religion, yet they have these abilities, these gifts, and they're able to help people deal with evil spirits. They are able to do light work too, right? So clearly, right, the ability, the light, the power of the light is not dependent on religion. All right, it's not dependent on religion. First thing. Now the second thing, which I would like everyone to take note of, is a matter of how good a person are you. And when I say about goodness, I mean values. In terms of values, what kind of person are you? Are you loving? Are you kind? Are you compassionate? Are you forgiving? Are you patient? Do you live in truth or do you tell lies? Are you honorable? Are you of integrity? Are you of peace, harmony, or are you quick to anger? See, all these values will help determine your character, the kind of person that you are, and the kind of person that you are will show up in your light. The better a person you are, the purer your light will be. The purer your light will be, the greater the power of light that you will have, and the more capable you will be should you choose to do light work. That's all it takes. All right? Anyone who's interested to do light work, all you need to qualify is to be a good person. That's it, right? It is really that simple. Be a good person, then you learn the trade. And it is really actually quite simple. Right? Some of you are my students, right? So you know it's actually not difficult. Just be a good person. And the techniques that we teach, they are very basic, very simple. And for us, because we don't belong to traditional groups, so we are not ritualistic at all. So if you help, you get me to, some of you have invited me over to your house, your place, to do an exorcism or cleansing of evil spirits and so on and so forth. You see me, I will go to your home, I'll be wearing like a normal dude, right? I'll be wearing a t-shirt and jeans, that's usually how I wear. Right, I don't wear a uniform, I may wear white now. I look kind of maybe a bit more guru looking, wearing white. But when I go outside, I look perfectly normal when I go and do work. All right. I don't bring a wooden sword like a Taoist. I don't burn incense. I don't carry a bell. Nothing. Right? Because all we need is power comes from invisible light. It does not come from instruments for us. All right, for us, Cordelia and I and the people that we teach, right? We go back to the basics. We're dealing with energies. I always tell my clients this, look, we're dealing with energies. So I will be using energies, which are positive energies, to deal with negative energies, right? So whatever is happening is all invisible. For people who are not sensitive, they don't see a thing. For people who are very sensitive, they always tell me, wow, that was amazing, or they see and experience things that normal people don't at all. All right? So when we're dealing with energies, the best method is to use energy, invisible energy, to deal with invisible energy. Right? I don't need a rock, I don't need a sword, I don't need to use fire even. I don't need holy water. No, really no, it's not necessary. But should I choose to? Yes, it can, but it's not the most direct method to me. It's not the most direct method. We go to the root level. Root level is we're dealing with energies, so we use energies to deal with it. And the best energy to do light work is the very light itself, is invisible. Now, this light is the same light that we talk about in light meditation. Right, so we teach people to do light meditation. Tomorrow night we have a session, same time, right, 9 p.m. Malaysian time, whereby we're teaching everyone light meditation, how to strengthen this light. All right. So if we strengthen this light, the stronger it is, the purer it is, the better this light is able to do light work or to protect us from negative energies. It's just that simple. All right. So practically everyone can be like myself. All right. Everything has to do with the light, and the light depends on our values, what kind of person we are. It's just that simple. And so that is why you find that a lot of people who are in the traditional path, traditional religion path, that when they become purified, going through the religious way, right, or doing a lot of meditation, a lot of prayers, and some, they will practice abstinence from sex, from certain types of food, fasting. It's all about trying to achieve purity of the mind and everything. What they are actually trying to do is to purify their energies, their light. And then suddenly abilities will be awakened in them. Abilities, suddenly. All right? Suddenly they will be able to see across space, across time, to the future, to the past lives. Suddenly they will be able to see spirits, the good, the bad, right? Suddenly it's like a lot of things start coming. But if you're really meant to do light work, you might be like Cordelia. You might have a Kundalini activation. So some of the Kundalini activation is mild. Some of it is very strong, like what Cordelia had, to the point where she had convulsions, almost like epilepsy. She said, there was a jackhammer in her body vibrating, right? So if you happen to be one of those, right, take note, right? If you happen to be one of those who are born with the gift and your life is kind of guided, right, to head towards learning about spirituality, maybe learning about the occult, learning about all the hocus pocus, subtle energies, crystals, and all those kind of things, maybe, right, maybe you are one of those who's meant to do some light work. Right now, doing light work does not necessarily mean you need to be professional like Cordelia and myself. You could be doing part-time. Cordelia and I, right, we started off part-time. Now we're doing full-time, right? It's not easy. This is a very niche field, right? Not many people do this work, right? At least not the way that Cordelia and I do. All right. So if you have this type of abilities, you may, I mean, this is one of the paths that is open to you, but you need not, it's not something that you must do, right? Everyone, you're given free will. If this is not your cup of tea, that is also fine. It's just like me, I wasn't born to do this, but actually, I ended up doing, and I discovered that, all these powers come from who I am, my light, my values, and has nothing to do with gifts. All right, so all my students are more gifted than I am, but still I am better because of who I am, values. And just to help everyone understand, right? It's like, so what do I mean by higher values? So that lead to purer light. What do I mean by that? I try to explain to my students, so I will give you all a very brief explanation. Let's talk about love, right? Let's talk about love. Love is the most often quoted value in religion, in spirituality, and even in earthly, right? I love you, you love me, right? In movies, you hear this term love a lot. Now, you hear so much that I think everyone practically knows what is the highest form of love. Unconditional love, right? Everyone knows the highest form of love is unconditional love. All right. So if you were to plot a graph, right, of love, right side is higher, left side is lower, right? So love has a scale: higher love, lower love. And we know the highest love is unconditional, which means the lowest love is the love which has the most conditions. Right, right or not? So if we want to cultivate a higher level of love, what we need to do is to move in this direction. Less conditions, to the point whereby no condition, unconditional love. So those of you, if you're really into spirituality, you might see a lot of people send some graphs out there that says love is a certain frequency. So same thing, if I were to plot love as a certain frequency, love will have a range of frequencies, I would say. It doesn't have a specific frequency because love depends on each individual person, on the level of conditions that are attached to love. The more conditional your love, the lower the frequency, the less conditional your love, the higher your frequency, right? So it's not true that love, the energy of love, only has one fixed frequency. It all depends on your level of conditions. And if you were to change to a different value, right? Let's not talk about love. Let's talk about truth. Truth. Similar, right? At the highest level of truth, you will be telling the truth no matter what. No conditions. Low level of truth is you will only tell the truth when it suits you, when it doesn't get you into trouble, for example. I'm just giving a very simple, simple comparison, simple example. It's actually a little bit more complicated than that. So, whatever value you have, the cultivation can go higher as long as it goes to less and less conditions, or what we call attachments, right? So attachments at the highest end is 0. Attachments at the lowest end is infinity. A lot of attachments, right? So condition is a form of attachment. All right. So those of you, if you're into spirituality, again, you will hear the term non-attachment or detachment, right? And how important it is, especially in Buddhism or Hinduism. In fact, all spirituality talks about you need to cultivate a level of non-attachment. All right. If I do actually teach non-attachment meditation, right, whereby I will talk about this in greater detail. So basically, it's just to let everyone know, all right, how to cultivate higher in value so that your light will be more and more powerful. Simple. Less and less attachments in terms of values. In terms of values, that means you're going to be a good person no matter what. There are very few conditions for you to become a good person. Right? Some people, their being a good person is conditional upon the other person doing good to them, conditional that they will receive some good in return, as if it's a trade or transaction. Right? A lot of people put conditions and attachments to being good. Now, the more you're able to shed your attachments and your conditions, the higher your values, the purer your light, the greater your power in terms of light, the greater you will be by default protected from dark forces, dark or negative energies. And should you want to do light work, the greater your power in terms of light, the more effective you will be. Just that simple, right? The rest is you need to learn, right? You need to learn the techniques and so on. Very basic, very simple. It's nothing very difficult. Okay. Now, so it's all about values. The next question I often get to ask, I'm often asked is, can a person, right, do both light work and dark, or the dark side, simultaneously? Can a person walk both paths, right? It's like, you have white and black, and you can have a person who's gray. Can a person walk both worlds, the dark and the light, and still be able to do, both dark and light well? All right, I do get these questions now and then. Anyone want to guess? Answer? The answer is no. All right. So we have been talking about how to cultivate in light. So if you want to do the dark side kind of things, right? Of course, your values won't be good because you will be trying to harm people. Right? If your values are no good, your light will drop. There's no way you can be an effective light worker. If your light is gray, it's not white, you cannot be a light worker that is effective. All right, you can't. And we are not just working with energies. All right, energies as in energies that are non-sentient. All right, in black magic, last month I talked about whereby black magic often comes with evil spirits, with dark forces, right? With spirits and consciousness, energy consciousness that are of the dark energies. Now, similarly, in light work, we do work with spirits of light, right? We do work with the divine. I actually had a talk, I think a few months back, talking about divine beings. Feel free to look it up on YouTube. Right, we have a YouTube channel. I think you can just search divine and CordyKet in YouTube, and you should be able to find the talk. It's about 1.5 hours long. Right, so we talk about who are the divine beings. Basically, they are the spirits of light from heaven, right? And they too are based on values. Values, right? They are all good guys. How do you define a good guy? Right, it's all because of values, the way they are as a person or as a spirit. Everything is defined by values. Light is defined by values, and I can, you kind of get the gist that even the source of light, right, the values must be very high, very unconditional. All right. So the answer is no. You can't work both sides, because the other thing is, if you go and work with the dark side, the divine, right, will not want to work with someone who is working with the dark side. Should you choose to go to the dark side, you will find the divine beings that you used to work with, they will leave you. Now, it's very interesting because in the, we've been doing this work for maybe 12 years. We do encounter some people who claim to work both light and dark. And they say they have both the divine and also demons working for them. Now, the interesting thing is this: they are not aware that the so-called divine or light beings that are with them are actually also dark spirits, but disguised as light beings, disguised as divine beings. Right? I think I did mention in previous talks that the evil spirits, they can appear as divine beings, like spirits of light shining and everything, right? But they are actually not. That is just an illusion, a camouflage, right? And this is where I think one of the latest horror movie was good. Like I said, I think it's called The Unholy. It's a very good story. I watched it because the synopsis fits in with what we know, right? The synopsis is about an evil spirit, I think a demon, that pretended to be Mother Mary, right? Came in the form of light and everything, used the term Mary, used the name Mary, but it's actually Mary something else. It's not Virgin Mary, right? And okay, sorry, spoiler alert, right? So, but actually the movie makes it quite clear that it's actually evil. So from the start, you will know that whatever it is that is in the Virgin Mary idols at the church and everything is not something that is divine or of light. So we do see this in our experience. And I find that there are many people who are psychics who have the gift. Right? I always tell my students, just because you're clairvoyant, right, don't trust what you see with your third eye. Right? The third eye is the most easily tricked. A lot of people, they just see light and they think it's divine. I tell you, no. Okay, so we normally teach our students to investigate further, learn how to differentiate what is truly divine, who are really the spirits who are of light. And we emphasize it is not due to appearances. You need to evaluate them based on their values and their purity of light. All right. Okay. Now, I have one last word before I take a look at your questions. Very early in my career, I encountered this saying by I'm not sure how to pronounce this name. I hope I spelled his name correct. Nietzsche, right? I think his quote came out in two movies that I watched, right? And it goes something like, "He who fights monsters, right? He who fights monsters should take care that he does not become a monster himself." And the second part of the saying goes, "And if you gaze into the abyss long enough, the abyss also gazes into you." Let me see whether I can write it down. All right, I think this is very valid for people who are interested in doing light work. He who fights monsters, he who fights monsters should take care. To take care that he doesn't become a monster. So I think the original is in German or something like that. So it's roughly translated like this: "He who fights monsters should take care that he doesn't become a monster. And if you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you," more or less. All right. Now, this first part is very important, of course. He who fights monsters should take care that he doesn't become a monster. Now, a lot of people watch a lot of Hollywood movies or whatever, read books, right? They have a funny idea of what light workers should be. They think of us as demon slayers, right? And that we go around destroying the evil spirits, right? Or you watch anime cartoons, right? They're all slash here, blood there, everywhere. It is not like that at all, right? If you're really doing light work, now the key thing is you need to maintain your values. If you are to maintain your values as a light worker, how can you kill and destroy a sentient being? You can't. You're not supposed to. All right? We do not kill or destroy. And if you meet anyone who says they are demon slayer, then this demon slayer would have fallen into this trap. He would have become a monster himself or herself. We don't do that, right? Most of the work that we do, just to give a simple summary. If we're dealing with evil spirits, most of the evil spirits come from ghosts, lost souls. They develop from ghosts, lost souls. Again, if you want to learn more about ghosts, there's a YouTube recording of this session that I did about ghosts. It's on YouTube. You can go and watch it. Again, it's about 1.5 hours long. So a lot of the evil spirits, they start off as ghosts, and from ghosts they can eventually become like demons. All right. Now, ghosts come from lost souls, souls of people who died, and they didn't go back to light. They didn't go back to the source of light. So what happened is they get stranded as lost souls or ghosts, and they eventually become demons. So all these, most of these evil spirits, they were originally light. They were of light. They were souls of light. They were energies of light, but they got corrupted by the choices they made in life. As a person, upon death, after death, they kept on choosing options and decisions that are contrary to good values, contrary to less attachment, all with a lot of conditions, a lot of attachment, and that's why their light, their energy become darker and darker. Us as light worker, our role is to return them to light. This is what we do. We do not destroy them. All right. In general, we do not destroy at all. We approach them with compassion, with love, even with a very warm embrace. This is what we do. We don't go like what you watch on TV, Netflix, the movies, and cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, all the fighting. No, it's not like that at all. No. You will not detect anger from us. You will not detect hatred from us. Because what Nietzsche, or whatever his name is, Nietzsche said is very true. We must take care that we don't become a monster. Despite facing all these monsters, the demons and everything, and they are really terrible. Okay, they're really terrible. If you can feel them, you can see what they do to you, or you can read the book, Cordelia's book, what they did to her is really terrible. All right, some of the things Cordelia couldn't even write in the book. It's not meant for the public. So first part, light workers focus on values. We don't become a monster. We don't kill. We don't destroy. It's nothing at all like what you see on TV, on cartoons, animes, in books, right? Now the next thing. And if you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. If you do this work, right, you will be facing a lot of the dark forces. The dark forces will have their eyes on you. All right? They will be waiting for you, for your lights to weaken, for your values to drop, and then they will come and get you. Now, I'm not sure whether this is really what happened. All right, but there's a very famous real life case right now. Real life case, right? Those of you into spirituality, New Age especially, you all can go and Google this name, Doreen Virtue. Now, Doreen Virtue, I think she was either a channel or medium. She's into angelic readings. She can channel the angels, and she was into, she was kind of light worker. She helped people remove evil spirits by working with the angels. She's very famous, and she became infamous a few years ago. Right? What happened was Doreen Virtue became a millionaire by selling her courses, by teaching people how to do the things that she do. Teaching people how to work with angels. She have oracle cards and everything selling in her name. Very famous. She goes on stage working with other healers and everything. Sometimes doing all the healings on stage even. All right. Then everything went turned upside down a few years back. I can't remember which year. She denounced her entire life's work. She denounced all the angelic teachings, right? She denounced, she went to say that whatever she's teaching is wrong, it doesn't work and everything. Now, she was certifying people, right, to become healers in her modality and so on and so forth. There's a whole ecosystem of people, right, using Doreen Virtue's teachings to help people to do readings and to do light work based on her methods. And suddenly she, the person right on top, said that no, all this doesn't work, right? And what did she say? She kind of virtually tell people is, go to Christ, right? Go back to church. Don't do all this. She had renounced it. So apparently she had a very bad episode of being attacked by the dark side, dark forces. And no matter how powerful she was, she used to help so many people, she couldn't help herself, right? There came a demon or something that is more powerful than her level of light, or maybe her light drop, right? And she had a very tough time, and she only got out of it by going back to church. And having gone back to church, she decided to renounce everything. And this is a very big lesson for those of us who are still doing light work, right? Because if you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. They're waiting for you to fall. If your values drop, if you become famous, you become rich and famous, right? Your values start to drop, your light start to drop, then your power starts to drop, and the dark side will come and get you. All right. So it's kind of a warning now. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just putting out the truth. All right. So I don't want anyone who think, oh, anyone can be a light worker, and it's all fun, right? But bear this in mind, you need to be a good person. You need to uphold your values. And of course, you will have invisible enemies who are always gazing into you. All right? But have no fear. If you're really going to do this, if you're really a good person, let me assure you this. Light is always more powerful. Always. Always, without a doubt. I've been doing this for many years, more than a decade, and I cannot be more convinced. Cordelia and I have experienced the source of light. We know how powerful is the source of light, and nothing can defeat the source of light. Nothing can defeat light. Right? Some people will think that the dark forces are very powerful. Yes, no doubt, some of the dark forces are powerful. But I guarantee you, light is stronger. Stick with your values, right? Bear in mind, don't become a monster. Don't let your values drop, because the abyss is always gazing into you, watching you, right? If your values fall, it will come for you, right? So if you have any questions about light work, white magic, all right, white magic. So it sounds like magic, right? It sounds like magic. Now, white magic, just to clarify the term, all right? We're not really doing magic, but we're using light, okay? White energies, light energies. White magic as in opposite of black magic. We're not doing magic, okay? Just to be clear, we're not doing magic. Some of you who are very sensitive to energies, if you come for a session, you will think that what we do seems miraculous, seems magical. It is not. It is not, right? And if you were to take the immunity healing program right from the start, from the very first module, we will give you the secret. We will give you the secret in the very first module. We are not afraid of that, because our power comes from light. Our light depends on our values. Our values only goes higher when we have less attachment, less conditions. So we will give you the secret of how to be a light worker, how to be a healer, right in the first module of infinity healing, right? And the only thing that is limiting you, limiting every one of us, I'm saying every one of us can do this, right? Every one of us can do this. Even when Industrial Revolution 4.0, 5.0, 6.0, 7.0 takes over, none of the machines can do light work, but humans can. If you're interested in doing light work, your job will never be made redundant by a machine. Right? A machine can never do this. Right? But it depends on your values. All right. So let me take a look at questions. Any questions, feel free to type it. Bear in mind, if you would like to speak, you will be recorded. All right. So Edwin is asking, seek divine intervention means pray to light. Divine intervention means seek intervention from the divine. And the divine are the spirits of good values that come from heaven. If you're not sure about divine, right, again, you can go to our YouTube channel and look for the video on divine. So any condition to be a light worker, I think I explained that. What does normally light worker do? I've explained it. Why it says thanks for recommendation. The unholy was awesome. Yes. Edwin asked a very good question. How to assess, identify whether a light worker is genuine or bogus? Now, that is a very good question. So I hope you all get the point. First of all, it's about values, right? And I leave you all this quote. The person must not be a monster, must not like want to fight. There is no anger, very minimal. It's not to say that a light worker cannot anger at all, right? Very extreme conditions, I will also feel anger, right? But I will not use anger as a tool to lash out. Shouldn't, especially not in our light work. We don't do that, because if we do that, we get into trouble, right? The beast is watching us. It's watching us. The moment we go to the dark side, another analogy I like, Star Wars. Now you guys watch Star Wars, right? How many of the Jedi's get turned to the dark side? It's exactly like that. It's all because the Jedi's values fall, right? Anakin Skywalker, right? How did Anakin turn? Because he gave in to the anger. He started out with love and he gave in to anger, right? All of them, right? The dark side is always trying to turn people based on the values, turn the Jedi's to the dark side. So yes, so in terms of light work, it's not too different from that. All right. So how do we tell? Now, for example, I have clients tell me of their experiences with some traditional priests or monks or nuns that actually turn out to be not of light, right? Very interesting. For example, one person went to a monk, a Buddhist monk, to have black magic removed. Quite a few people are. In fact, I've heard such a story from, right? And the monk helped them remove the black magic. And the monk asked, do you want me to reflect the black magic back onto the person who cast it at you? The instigator, the one who went to the dark practitioner. Straight away, something wrong with the values of the monk or the priest who offer to reflect, to do harm back. It's like revenge, vengeance. An eye for an eye is something that a light worker should not do, because it's against good values, it's against light. There's no an eye for an eye, no vengeance, right? So that, for example, is clearly the person appears to be a monk, but the cultivation, the way he or she live life, is not according to values, then it won't be of light. You can only tell by knowing the person enough, or when such things reveal. I also another client, she did black magic on her ex-husband. She met a woman who claimed to be like a card reader. If I'm not wrong, yes, a card reader. And she claims to be able to work with spirits, and The card reader was the one who asked her, who instigated, who got her to do black magic on her husband for having an affair, right? So the moment it involves all these kind of things, trying to cause harm or trying to affect free will, I did mention in previous talk, he was trying to affect free will. If someone doesn't love you, but you want to use some magic, some energy, some rituals to make the person love you, that is against free will, right? If you are trying to compromise someone's free will, again, it's not of good values. You're forcing people to go against what they choose. That too is dark. All right, these are some simple things. Watch out for values. Can people with artificial heart be light worker? Yes. So those of you, who are regulars, you know that when I talk about light, the invisible light, the location or its seat is at the physical heart. So even though you have artificial heart, right, the light is still there. All right, it doesn't need the physical heart. It's independent of the physical heart. If you listen to all my talks, I also mentioned that the light can you can lose your light and you still be alive. It doesn't matter. All right, so it's nothing to do with the physical anatomy, nothing to do with your physical body or physical heart. The light is still there, right? As long as your mother is of light, the child will be born of light. It will have light, and everything will be okay. All right, can a person have both light and dark existing in them? If you mean in terms of spirits, it's possible, but usually that light and dark at the same time is only when the light is very weak, right? If your light is very weak and the dark becomes so strong, it can enter your body, then only you have light and dark within you. Otherwise, if your light is strong, the light will keep out the dark. So you should not have light and dark. But yes, I do see where light and dark exist at the same time, but that is only when the light is very weak, can't keep out the dark, then the dark comes and technically possesses a person or enters a person's body. Xiao Fang is asking, what does abyss mean? Abyss kind of mean like hell, all right? Some people call it hell. Can we call ourselves light worker? It's up to you what you want to call yourself. I'm just defining. I'm giving a very specific definition of light worker, whereby we do the kind of things that counter dark forces, dark energies, dark spirits, that kind of thing. I'm being very specific for this talk, right? A very general view of light worker is anyone who does good in the world. Tap is saying, I heard the term grid work. What is grid work in relation to light work? Yes. That is a higher level of light work. So there are, similar to energy, our physical body have energy channels, right? Have energy channels. And Earth too has energy channels, right? In the form of like grids, all right? So some light workers, they don't just help people, they also help Mother Earth by strengthening these energy channels. The only thing is this, from what I see, most of the people who do grid work, they are not actually of a level enough to do grid work, or they are not really of light. So they don't know what they are doing. A lot of, there are people who are actually doing, right? But there are many people in this world who have grand, ideas of grandeur, that they want to be light worker, they want to be something special. Now, if you really want to be something special, right, and then your values might not be very good, because you might have a sense of neediness. You need to be validated by people. You need people to look up to you. So it means that you have some form of self-confidence issues, some ego issues, right? And you might be doing light work for the wrong reasons, right? It shouldn't be the case. Now, if anyone wants to do light work, you don't need to be a perfect person at the start, but you need to move in this direction, right? You need to move in this direction. Less and less attachments, less and less conditions, higher and purer light. So when every one of us, when we started out, Cordelia, myself, my students, right, we are not at a very high level and purity of light, but the idea is work towards higher values, less attachments, so that we will have purer light. All right. So grid work, yes, there are people who do that. So far, I don't meet many genuine people. In fact, they think they are doing grid work to help the earth, but they end up polluting the earth because they are not of that kind of cultivation. Warren is asking how to balance zero attachment with worldly money-based life naturally have influence from how to balance zero attachment with worldly money-based life, especially when we have family with young ones and goals. Very good question. So Warren, Cordelia, and myself, that's what we're here to do. We're here to show people we can do light work, we can do spiritual work, we can be spiritual, and yet still live a very earthly life. All right, you can. If you want to find out more about non-attachment, try to attend our non-attachment meditation. I will start by talking about non-attachment and cultivating non-attachment and how to apply it in real life. Now, just to give a quick answer to you, how to balance zero attachment. Now, most people don't understand what non-attachment is. A lot of people think it's about being detached. So I actually give a very concise and very good explanation in our non-attachment meditation, about half an hour of it, right, to explain the difference between detachment and non-attachment. All right, and once you get the difference between detachment and non-attachment, you will see that there is no problem at all. There is no problem. Then you understand what is the right way to cultivate spiritually, higher in values and less attachment. And it does not clash much with living an earthly life. Right? Now, no doubt Cordelia and I, we have an earthly life and we have a spiritual side of us. Right? So most of you will see the spiritual side of us. You don't see the earthly side. But yeah, if you know me in Facebook, you can see that I'm, Cordelia and I, we're very normal folks. If you don't look at our energy and spiritual postings, we're really normal people, right? I watch TV. I watch movies. All right. I still play. I eat. Okay. I'm not vegan. All right. I'm not even fully vegetarian. All right. So, yeah, does not necessarily mean that. All right. So there is a balance. It can be achieved. The key is focus on the values. Be a good person. That is the hardest part. Okay. The most difficult part of being a light worker is to be a good person unconditionally with as little conditions as possible, because the way the world works right now, everything is transactional. Right? A lot of things are transactional. You give me that, you give me this, I give you that. Right? Relationships, marriages, a lot of it has become transactional. I want your sex, you want my money. I want your money, you want my, those kind of things. It becomes transactional, or it's like tit for tat and so on and so forth. So it's not meant to be that way. If you really get the idea of spiritual cultivation, becoming a better person, less attachment, you just be a good person no matter what. All right? Even if the other person does bad to you, you will still stay a good person. All right? Does everyone with severe depression or suicidal thoughts naturally have influence from dark entities? Wow, that is a very direct question. Not necessarily. Okay, not necessarily. Does everyone with severe depression and suicidal thoughts naturally have influence from dark entities? Not necessarily. I have encountered a case, right? There was a case I had. So someone know about the work and the work that Cordelia and I do, and they and have recommended me to help other people with evil spirits, and quite a number of cases, like you said, depression, suicidal thoughts. A lot of it is influenced by negative energies and even negative entities, right? So, and for us light workers, we can be very effective for such people, such situations, if the damage has not affected the person mentally to the point of permanent brain damage. All right, we can be very effective for all these type of cases. And I would dare say for vast majority of such cases, yes, there are usually negative energies and negative entities even that are involved. But there was one case, just one, all right, whereby the client asked us to check on this boy. He was having depression. He's shutting himself up in a room, right? Close all the windows and everything, and refusing to talk to people, doesn't eat much and everything. So she's just very worried, right? So I think it was her nephew or something. And so she gave us a photo, right? And then I did energy reading, and it was very interesting. He was just going through, some people call it the dark night of the soul, right? Doing dark night of the soul, but without negative entities involved. Now, I didn't see any dark entities involved there, right? And I told her, you don't have to worry. He's just doing like soul searching. You know, some people have midlife crisis kind of thing. It's something like midlife crisis, but happening to a very young chap. I think he was maybe in 20s or teen. I can't remember. Young chap, right? And he's just thinking things through because maybe some experiences, trying to find resolution in his mind, and he needed to shut the world out. And he seems depressed, looks depressed, by all external appearances seem depressed, but actually he's okay. And true enough, a few weeks after I checked, he emerged from his shell, emerged from his room, and he's all fine, and he seemed to be a much better person. So he just went through like a dark night of the soul. He needed to re-evaluate his life or come to terms with his experiences. Maybe he experienced something nasty. So not necessarily, all right? We have had a case like that. So Edwin is asking, what happens if a light worker's skills not enough to fight with black or dark side? Withdraw? Yeah. You know, those of you who attended my talk on black magic last month, right? You will have heard my story. Or there's also a talk I gave on hell. I talked a little bit about one of my early cases whereby I fought with dark practitioners, and it was no fun. All right, because I was very early in my spiritual journey. I was still considered a newbie, and I was attacked by multiple dark practitioners who were gang up on me, and it was a very nasty experience. And I think it's possible to lose one's life if you are not careful when you are fighting dark practitioners. I always say you have to be very careful. Don't mess around with dark practitioners. Those of you, if you're learning from us, you will notice that we are very particular about our protocols. We are very detailed. We take a lot of precautions, right? We take a lot of precautions. So yes, if you find that you're not strong enough, the best thing is to stay safe. Don't engage. Don't engage, right? I have had clients, they come to us whereby it's because whoever was helping them lost in the black magic battle, lost to a dark practitioner, died, went to hospital. Something bad happened, and they came to us, right? We have cases like that, not just one case, all right? A few cases like that, whereby our clients, they used to go to different light worker to help them, and whoever the sifu or the master they were working with lost, right? And they had to come to us. They found out about us, and we ended up helping them. So yes, it can get very nasty, very dangerous if you're fighting dark practitioner. All right. So yeah, don't mess around. Right? It is a dangerous work. So some people say, your fees like 300 ringgit. 300 ringgit is how much? $75 US, right? $75 US is a lot for cleansing 1% of black magic. I dare say if you were in my shoes, you won't do it for 300 ringgit or $75. You won't. I guarantee you. If you ever got attacked by a dark practitioner, and I got attacked real bad, I had very little sleep for a few weeks. It was few weeks. I nearly died. For 300 ringgit, 75 bucks, 75 US dollars, you gotta be kidding me. Right? You gotta be kidding me. Right? If you're not doing this work to help people, and if you don't have a genuine heart, I dare say, for the fees that we are charging people, is like, it's not worth it at all. And at least gazing into us, we have evil spirits trying to get at us all the time, right? So we have to maintain our lights all the time. We have to stay as good people. Actually, that's not very difficult. Staying as good people. Once you're a good person, it's not difficult, right? But for some people, they think it's a hassle. So, yeah, it's serious stuff. Okay, if you want to do light work, it's serious stuff. But anyone can do it. Right? That's my main message. And all you need to do is to be a good person. So the next question, when doing light work, we should be careful with wanting to get recognition, attention, and fame. Yes. All right. I think a lot of people know the spirituality trap. A lot of the biggest trap. The downfall of many people is ego. Whether it's in the spiritual world or in the earthly world, once your ego goes too big for your head, right, you start destroying your own career, right? So you have to be very careful of ego also. So yes, it's always the same for everyone. You become very powerful, you become rich and famous, and then ego kind of gets into your head, and then some people, they destroy their own careers because of ego, right? So yeah, you got to be careful of that. So because in light work, it's all about values, right? You cannot let your values slip. So by right, if someone who's supposed to be of very high level in light, there shouldn't be very much of an ego. You can have pride, okay? Make no mistake, pride and ego are not the same, right? Pride and ego is not the same. Pride is a very positive thing. You can be proud of your work. But when sometimes people, when you start to have ego and everything, it's a negative cultivation. It's like there is a lack of self-confidence, of needing to seek validation from people, needing other people to praise you in order for you to feel good. And that only happens because you have a lack of your own self-worth. You cannot even feel your own self-worth. You need other people to prop you up, right? So, only people like that, they will have ego problems because they have not healed themselves enough in terms of their own self-worth. All right. Okay, so looks like there are no more questions. Any last minute questions before we call it a day? All right. So if there are no more questions, one last. So Xiaofang Suicidal is saying, so in a word, be a good person. Yes, we are all supposed to be good, whether you're light workers or not. But if you want to be a light worker and you want to be a good one, right, you better be a good person. All right. Or Wai is asking how to differentiate whether one person is practicing light or dark art. Now, some things are very simple, right? For example, you go to a practitioner, start using scorpions, centipedes, right? And the place is, very creepy and the values are not there. The main thing to look out for is just values. And sometimes it's difficult, right? Sometimes it's difficult because a lot of people know how to pretend to be good people. The world is like that, right? There are a lot of pretenders out there. There are a lot of people who fake it. So it may not be so easy, but given enough time and you watch the person closely enough, you can tell whether it's the person really a good person or it's just faking it. All right. How do you identify if somebody pretend to be good? Well, you need time, right? Honestly, you need time to know the person. Little things will reveal. Like for example, Sometimes vanity will reveal itself. You can notice little things like the way the person spend money. If you're a light worker, there's very little attachment to, for example, to the way you look, to material possessions especially, right? And I dare say if someone who claims to be highly spiritual, highly non-attached, but um, still still trying to accumulate a lot of wealth and a lot of, let's say, have a collection of cars, collection of race cars, supercars, or collection of expensive watches, then you can see that there is very high attachment somewhere. So the level of light is not, I would say, not fully there. But having said that, we are all human. Okay, we are all human. We are entitled to some flaws. Maybe you can say entitled, as long as nothing serious. All right, as long as nothing serious. Just that usually in the spiritual world, a lot of it is linked to non-attachment in terms of material possessions. It doesn't mean that you can't be rich. You can be rich doing light work. You can be, right? You can be rich. Just that you shouldn't be attached to being rich. It's separate matter, okay? Being rich and being attached to being rich are two different matters. There are lots of people in this world who are rich, but they are not attached to being rich. Not attached at all, right? But they are rich. And for that reason, they will be rich, right? I do talk about that in Law of Attraction. So non-attachment helps you to achieve what you want, actually. So you can do that. You can be rich, but without being attached to being rich. So for normal people, you might think that it's difficult to differentiate, but you don't see just because a person is rich, it means that he's a bad person, bad cultivation. No, there are a lot of rich people who are very good, who are very kind-hearted, who are very humble, right? And you can tell it from their demeanor, right? The values, who they are as a person. So at the end of the day, you still need to know the person. All right. Why you should write a book, How to Be Rich Doing Light Work and Still Feels Okay. Well, I'm not rich doing light work. All right. Cordelia and I believe a very simple life. I rent a house. I drive a second-hand car that is this year is 13 years old car. We live very simple lives. We don't earn much. We just have enough to get by. All right. So we are not rich. So I can't write a book like that talking about rich doing light work. Maybe when I'm rich. Yeah. So no, I'm not being rich doing light work. So what's the upcoming future topic? Can organize again with ghost topic. Yes. So for future, I'm thinking for the next session onwards, it'll be a more open session. We've covered quite a number of topics, right? So I will probably, next session, I will open up to all the topics that is covered, including ghosts, divine, hell, heaven, right? Black magic, white magic, so on and so forth, right? Whatever covered, anyone can ask questions again, all right? Because some people didn't attend, didn't get to ask questions. So you all will get to ask all the questions again for the future, for next month, June, all right? So Eileen is saying good example of non-attachment of fame and money, like Buddha left his palace. Yes, Buddha left his palace. All right. So I think we've come to an end. Thank you everyone for joining me. Right. If you are happy, feel free to make a donation to support us to keep this online, all these online events, right, which we are doing on a donation basis. It's free if you can't afford a donation, right? If you want to donate, I will be sending out all its details on how to donate are in the groups. All right, thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you guys. If you're interested in light meditation, tomorrow 9 p.m. Malaysian time, Sunday 9 p.m. at night, I'll be teaching about light meditation, how to strengthen our light, the one light that helps us to do light work, that protects us from negative energies. Okay, otherwise, I shall see you all whenever I see you all. Thank you, good night, and good day.